Yo, what's going on, guys? It is Boy Nick here, back again with a brand new video today. We're going to be continuing my series which I review every single Marvel Cinematic Universe film up to the release of Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Today we're going to be reviewing Eternals, which is the third movie in Phase 4. So before I go into my review, I know that some people are going to talk about my different background. I'm at my dad's for the weekend, so I'm going to be recording my video here for the time being. That's all I want to say. I just want to get that out the way real quick. So Eternals was directed by Chloe Zhao. I believe that's how you say it. It might be Zhao. I apologize if I said that wrong. And stars a huge cast, which we're going to go over. The cast of Eternals introduces us to 10 new characters who are played by Richard Madden, Salma Hayek, Angelina Jolie, Don Lee, Kumail Nanjiani, Brian Tyree Henry, Gemma Chan, Leah McHugh, Lauren Ridloff, and Barry Keoghan. I hope that's how you say that. I might be saying that wrong. So that's 10 new characters, and the first thing I want to say about this cast is that this is a great cast. All the actors do a very good job in their roles, and the cast really do feel like people who know each other very well and who feel like real friends. So I think the casting in this film is fantastic. It's a great cast. They're all very likable, well-acted characters, and they all get along very well together on camera. Some of the standouts from this cast, in my opinion, is Richard Madden gives a great performance as Icarus. His character is interesting. He's in this very odd kind of gray area, and you have some mixed feelings about him, but Richard Madden gives an excellent performance in the role, in my personal opinion. I think my two favorite performances in the movie is Brian Tyree Henry and Kumail Nanjiani as Phastos and Kingo, respectively. I really like them because they really work well as comic relief. They do comic relief kind of differently. Brian Tyree Henry's comic relief is more laid back, and then Kumail Nanjiani's is a lot more on the nose, but they both do a really good job in the movie. They're both funny, they're charming, they're interesting, and I think that the actors do a really good job playing them. Of those two, I think Phastos is probably my favorite of the two, and I put that he's one of the more engaging characters in the film. I like the fact that we get to see kind of what his life is like, and that we get to see the kind of conflicts that he's having as this demigod living among the humans, and how the conflict in his life kind of conflicts with what his destiny is. I think Brian Tyree Henry does a really good job in the role. He's very likable, and he's one of the most compelling aspects about the film. Another person I really like is Don Lee as Gilgamesh. I thought Don Lee was just awesome as Gilgamesh. I kind of want to see Gilgamesh a little bit more in the film. I won't go into it, but I kind of just want to see him a little bit more because Don Lee plays him really well, and I think he's kind of just like the most interesting of all the Eternals. Barry Keoghan is also pretty good as Druig. I feel like we don't get to see him enough, but the stuff that they do with him, he's pretty interesting, and Barry Keoghan plays him very well. And on top of that, he also has great chemistry with Lauren Ridloff, who's Makari. And Makari is another one of the more charming Eternals. I think she's really good in the movie, and I wanted to see some more of her because I think she's really charming, she's cool, she's badass, and I think that her chemistry with Barry is great. And I would have just liked to have seen them more because I think they're really interesting characters that have a lot to they have a lot to show, and I feel like we didn't get to spend enough time with them. Also, Salma Hayek was really good in this movie as Ajak. I didn't see Ajak as much as I wanted to, but the scenes that my camera cut off, I apologize for that. But as I was saying in the previous footage, how I felt that, as I was trying to say in the previous footage, I felt that Salma Hayek gave arguably the best performance in the film as Ajak. I thought she did an amazing job in the film. And unfortunately, we don't get to see Ajak as much as I would have liked to, but I still thought she gave a great performance nonetheless. Leah McHugh was also a lot of fun as Sprite. Sprite has this kind of like douchebaggery kind of comedy to her, and Sprite's kind of a weird, interesting character about him. I feel like Leah McHugh pulled it off pretty well. I also really love Harish Patel, I hope I'm saying that right, who plays Karun, the camera guy. He's really funny. He's kind of one of the more of those spice character kind of people where he's not part of the main course. He's the spices sprinkle on the main course, and he makes it better, and he was a lot of fun to see. There's also some really great voice acting from Bill Skarsgård as Crow. He was creepy, and the visual form is really creepy, but Bill Skarsgård's voice acting for him just emphasized that feeling tremendously, so I thought he did an excellent job at that. Angelina Jolie was also great as Thena. Now, for me, I didn't really feel like I got enough out of her as much as I wanted to, but I thought Angelina Jolie did a really good job in the role nonetheless. And also, Gemma Chan was pretty good as Cersei. To be completely honest, I think Cersei is a lot better whenever she's alongside Richard Madden. I think that's when she works the best. But outside of that, I think Gemma Chan plays her pretty well. One of the best things about Eternals are the gorgeous visuals. I think the use of CGI in this film is absolutely incredible. This is, in my opinion, one of the best looking Marvel movies, whether it's a small scale scene or a big scale scene. I think the CGI looks incredible, especially for the Celestials. It looks so great for the Celestials as well as for the Deviants. I think the CGI in this film, you gotta give the visual effects artist major props. I also really like the fact that this is kind of more of a gray area story that they've never really discussed in Marvel before. It's kind of interesting because the stuff that goes on in this film is not easy to address, nor is it easy to answer, but it's kind of interesting to have this sort of like gray area story in a world where people seem to perceive everything as black and white, especially when it's a story about demigods. That thing where it's like, technically they are like eternal god people, but they also have human struggles too. And so it's really interesting to see the story kind of play out that way. Now, I think the Celestials and Deviants are a really cool concept. The Deviants were really creepy little dudes, and then the Celestials, like, the way they look and the idea of these Celestials as gods are pretty cool. And overall, I think this film also has a great representation of many different kinds of people. There's good diversity in the film. You get a really good mix of all sorts of kinds of people. I think the representation in this film is one of great importance. And the cast all works together really well. So I don't know, I just think the representation in this film is really cool. Now, although I do like Eternals quite a bit, there are a lot of flaws with the film that I'm going to go over, unfortunately. One, there's a lot to unpack. Not necessarily a bad thing, but this is a movie that when I first saw it, I was really conflicted on it. I wasn't entirely sure how to feel about a lot of stuff. I mean, I liked the film fine, but I felt like there was a lot of things that could have been done better. But then when I rewatched it the other night, I liked it a lot more, and I do like it a lot more now than I did the first time. It's just that there's so much to go off of that I feel like a first viewing isn't enough. And something else that I kind of wrote was that even though there's great actors and great characters, I don't really feel like we got enough time to spend with all of them individually. There's certain ones we spend more time with, and that's really great, but there's just certain ones that I'm like, we need to spend more time with them before we can get to the thing, and we just don't. And so that's my biggest overall issue with Eternals, that there's so many characters and we don't have enough time to spend with all of them. But I put the fact that I think it's redeemed by the fact that they all make a really great team. I do feel like there's not enough time for all the characters. However, the story is mostly good, or the story works mostly. I just feel like it would have worked a lot better had we had more time with all the characters. But they all make a really great team, so I'm willing to forgive it for that. And like I said, I feel like this film takes multiple viewings to truly appreciate it. I've only seen the film twice. But because there's a lot to unpack, whether it's with the characters or the story, there's like so much to take in that I feel like it truly takes more than one viewing to let everything sink in. And also the pacing on the first viewing of this film, the pacing felt really inconsistent for me on the first time. The second time through, the pacing was actually very well done. The second time I watched it, the pacing didn't bother me at all. It was nice and it moved at a pretty nice pace. The first time I watched it, it felt fast at the beginning and then slow. And I felt like the pacing kind of brought everything down for a while, but I feel like on second viewing, the pacing gets a lot better. And then another one of the main issues I have with this film was Gemma Chan. Now, as I said, Gemma Chan is actually pretty good in the movie. My main issue with her is that she's made to be kind of like the main Eternal out of everyone else there. And my issue with this is that she's like the least interesting of all the Eternals. She's not bad. I thought Gemma Chan's performance was pretty good, but I just feel like Cersei is like the character who's, at least in terms of the writing, is the least interesting. So the fact that they made her the main character just doesn't really work for me. And I hope that whenever we see the Eternals again, they'll give her character more to do. Because although the performance is good, we just don't know enough about her to really care, to be completely honest. That was my other main issue. And then going off of that, my last kind of flaw with the Eternals is that I feel like Thena, Makari, Druig, and Cersei, those four specifically, need a lot more time to develop and truly understand. I felt like the other six, we spent at the very least the bare minimum of time to truly appreciate. These four, we need more time to appreciate. Now, I know that Eternals will return. I'm not sure if it's going to be a sequel or if it'll be for the next Avengers. I'm hoping that we get more time with these four characters because we really do need to learn about them more if we're going to care about them in the future, if we're going to spend more time with them. And so I really do feel like there was not enough time for them in this film. I'm hoping though, that we'll spend more time with them in the future. I will real quick go over some spoilers from the film. Not necessarily any big movie spoilers, but more so the post-credit scenes and the mid-credit scene. I want to talk about the mid-credit scene where we get introduced to Harry Styles as Star Fox, or as he presents himself as Eros. Now, when I first saw that in the theaters, I was kind of surprised by it because I didn't really know what to think of it. However, I have since seen Harry Styles in Dunkirk, and I thought he was pretty good in that, and so I hope he does a good job in the future. I mean, he's convinced me that he can act, and I have nothing against singers becoming actors. And as long as he does a good job, that's all I really care about. But I think it's kind of just an interesting thing for them to tease that he's going to be a superhero in the future. And I hope Harry Styles does a good job. And then another thing I have listed here is Kit Harington as Dane, who we meet at the beginning of the film, and he seems kind of interesting, and then we don't see him again until the end of the film, which made me kind of sad. But it seems like with the post-credit scene of the film, he found Excalibur, and according to Marvel fans, he might be King Arthur, it might be Black Knight, or whatever that is. I'm not entirely sure what that means, but I like Kit Harington a lot as an actor. I loved him on Game of Thrones. And if he joins the MCU as a superhero, I can't wait to see that. And even though this movie is not perfect, it teases a lot of really promising things for the future. And that's one of the best things about Eternals. So all in all, I have written in my summary that Eternals isn't perfect, but there is a lot to enjoy, and it leaves a lot of promising potential for the future of these characters, and I can't wait to see what they do with the Eternals. I really do mean that. I can't wait to see what they do with them in the future. This film is a bit convoluted, and it does need a lot more space to go through everybody. But for the most part, it's pretty good, and I think it did get a lot better on a second viewing. All in all, I think Eternals is a pretty good movie, and I don't think it's nearly as bad as people make it out to be. Upon second viewing, I'm going to give it an overall rating of an 8 out of 10. I think it's pretty entertaining. If you can overlook some of the frustrating aspects and just enjoy it for what it is, it's a really entertaining film. So I think 8 out of 10 is fair. And I'm going to give it an overall grade of a B. So that was my review of Eternals. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure that you tune into my channel just a few more days to watch my review of the next movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Spider-Man No Way Home. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure that you hit the like button, hit the subscribe, hit the notification bell so you get notified about my latest videos. Leave a comment down below letting me know what you thought. And yeah, that's been it. Peace.